Hey everybody, it's Pito, aka PT Sports 84, going around the NBA for October 27th, 2022. Wanted to review last night's big game slate, games from October 26th. Um, Sorry about yesterday, wasn't able to do a video, had some work stuff going, so unfortunately, whenever my mornings are a little busier, it's harder to do an update, stuff like that. What's up, Josh? Um, but wanted to dive into games because we had a lot of action last night, a lot of notable notes for various games. Um, Starting out with the Orlando Magic and the Cleveland Cavaliers. First thing to note in this one, Cole Anthony ends up with a oblique injury. This is notable for the Magic, obviously, because Markel Fultz is out. Jalen Suggs is also out with injury. So their point guard rotation is tough. Basically, their guards now are RJ Hampton, who's been playing a lot of point guards in Summer League, um, and Kaban Harris, who's more of a shooter, kind of um, more a wing type than a point guard. Terrence Ross, who started at the two. Caleb Houston can play a little bit of two, but they don't really have that dynamic ball handler to run the point guard spot. So what I'd expect is Franz Wagner to play a lot of point Wagner, even more so than he already has. But last night's game, the Orlando Magic fell. Unfortunately, they lose again. They're 0-4 on the season. They lose to the Cavaliers 103 to 92. Speaking of Franz Wagner, he had 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Um, Paolo Banchero's just been really good this year as far as from an offensive standpoint. 29 points for him, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks as well. Really has looked good. But to me, it's you're putting up tons of numbers on a bad team. I look at the same situation for like Benedict Mathurin. Like I love Benedict Mathurin, but like who else is scoring for that Indiana team in the way that he can? Not to take anything away from them, but it's just their teams are not good. So um, Wendell Carter Jr. His efficient numbers as always: 12 points, 8 rebounds. Basically, off the bench, you get Bol, who's been really consistent. Now that he has a consistent role, he's consistently putting out good numbers in small sample sizes. Looking at it overall for the Magic, I know I said next week I'm going to start diving into players that need to go up or down, but I mean you clearly have to see at this point Wagner would go up, obviously. Even though Cole Anthony's injured now, he still should go up in overall rating. Banchero, of course, should be an 80 plus, no question. Terrence Ross should be higher than a 75. Bol should go up as well. Even Caleb Houston should go up a point or two. While guys like RJ Hampton, who struggled, Shuma OKK should go down a little bit. Mo Bamba is highly overrated in 2K. I don't understand the inflation going on with Mo Bamba every year. Like he should go way down, like pretty much in the 76, 77 range at least, because he's not done that great. Mo Wagner should go down a little bit. He's been injury prone, and to me, a 75 is a little bit too high for him. Maybe 74, 73, somewhere in that range um, would be good. But the Cleveland Cavaliers um, come out on top, like I said. Donovan Mitchell only had 14 points in this one. So it was a little bit of a struggle for him to shoot the ball. Only 5 of 19. Karis LeVert has looked I guess the best word is shaky to start the season. Not shooting at the greatest. 3 for 12 from the floor, 12 points. I honestly think their best bet is to put Karis LeVert in the bench role and then let Jetty Osman come in and be a starter. And then that way it gets LeVert going off the bench. But, we'll see what they do. They did move LeVert to the 2 with Garland being out with the injury to his eye. Dean Wade got the start. Dean Wade looked good, 4 threes off the bench, 12 points. 2K is going to have to update some player positions when they do the next roster update. Dean Wade being one of them, going to small forward, of course. Um, there's tons of other updates, like LeBron needs to be a power forward, like things like that. But um, this was more so about Cleveland just being the better team, more so than anything else. Jared Allen, 18 points, 16 rebounds. Um, no, there's no updated players, dopey music, man. Like I'm a little deflated. I got to be honest. When it comes to the updates for the retro content, like coming out of the gate, 2K came out hot. They were updating everything. Like feedback would go in within like 2 to 3 days. That feedback would be put in. It would be correct. Everything's good. And what I don't get is you put so much effort into doing it like early, and then it just like you don't get any feedback for weeks. Like it's been a month since feedback was submitted for like the historic draft classes and stuff like that. So it's a little, and I get time consumption. I get other things need to be worked on, but gradually, slowly but surely, like even 30 minutes a day of adding to the sheet and updating some stuff and things like that, plugging away over a month's time, that should be added. Like there shouldn't be any reason not to have it added in. Like with the retro faces that were in the patch notes, like Terry Mills, John Long missing, like he's in the Eras roster, but then he's missing on the classic team, like with the corrected face. Terry Mills is missing his updated face. Like Oliver Miller's missing his updated face. Gary Grant, like there's Winston Garland. There's guys that are missing. Kenny Thomas gets put in the patch notes, and he's nowhere even in the game. Like he's not even on that Rockets team as a selectable player. So like the communication between the art team, the roster team, and whoever's doing the patch notes needs to be better. Like it needs to be known like, hey, the patch is coming out on Wednesday. We need to make sure we get these spreadsheets updated with the correct IDs so that way these players are in. Because there's no reason that current gen should have these players correct, like Oliver Miller, corrected face, and next gen still going without that. Like there's no reason for that at all. Like there's none. Like this isn't a time consumption thing when you're just typing in IDs. Like I'm sorry. Like I am going to be critical in that sense because it's frustrating to see simple things like that missed when you could take a second, take a breath, breathe, and then say, hey, let's double check and make sure we got everybody on the patch notes. There were players that weren't even updated that were in the patch notes. Like Bob Nedelicki, who was updated last year, didn't get an update. Like, why is he in the patch notes? Like there was other players like Scott Brooks said he got an update, but nothing was updated. Like, yeah, dopey music on last gen. Um, Oliver Miller got an update. John Long got an update on the classic rosters, so their faces are correct. Whereas on next gen, they're still Oliver Miller has a generic cap, and so does John Long. Now the era specific players are not on current gen; they're hidden in the files, but they're not added to rosters obviously because the era stuff's not there. But they can be added for next gen because Universal, when they're in the actual game files, that means they're on both generations. They just haven't been added with a special coded ID to the spreadsheets to appear in game. So that's what that is. So those just need to be updated. Raja Bell was updated last year for the very last patch for 2K22 with an updated face to highlight his new tattoos, updated tattoos, and then his updated scan or artist render, or whatever you want to call it, with his lighter skin tone, the correct skin tone. And then 2K this year put in on the default rosters and even now the dark, crispy skin tone that was not correct for Raja Bell from 2K11, 2K12. And that's what we got for those teams. And there's a new render on there, and nobody even bothered to check to see that the new render ID is still there. It's available, and that's why I posted that stuff showing, hey, it's available on current gen. users on next gen should get those player models as well. But we haven't had an update. There's no update to the era stuff since the first week of 2K23 being out. And I get, like I said, time consumption. It's just very frustrating whenever you say daily updates and not everything is updated. And if there's a dev that's leading that just doesn't care, then give it to somebody else that does. Like, because the thing about the era stuff, the historic stuff, you only have to update it correctly once, and you never have to touch that again. Technically, you could copy and paste every 2K because you're not having to fix anything. You're just updating something once to get their tendencies correct or vitals correct, and then you don't have to touch it. And that's the beauty of the retro rosters. They're not updating. So it's a lot less work if you get it right the first time and then submit it. But anyway, back to the around the NBA. I got sidetracked with that. But next game up, the Atlanta Hawks beat the Detroit Pistons. This Pistons team, I'm going to go to the Pistons on here. Man, I get no Jaden Ivey, but Cade Cunningham went off. It's almost like Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey are still trying to figure out how to play with each other, and that's what the issue is. No real bench production that's, overall like going to change the game, because when you get like guys like Killian Hayes coming off the bench, he's not going to look to score. He's going to look to pass. So that leaves guys like Isaiah Livers and Hamidou Diallo, Jalen Duren, those guys to score, and they're not natural scorers per se. Maybe Livers, but the other guys aren't. And so it's just trying to figure stuff out. Bogdanovich had 33 points. Sadiq Bey finally got over his struggles shooting the ball, 17 points. Isaiah Stewart only had 7. I like Jalen Duren next to Bogdanovich personally, and then you could end up bringing Stewart off the bench, but I don't think that Detroit would do that because it lowers Stewart's value overall. But I just like Jalen Duren's fit. Jalen Duren is one that will have to go up in the patch. Jaden Ivey will have to go up in the patch. Bogdanovich up in the patch. Even Cade Cunningham, he's had moments, but he hasn't shot it that great. He did shoot it better last night, 26 points, but he had the 7 turnovers. It's just interesting. Hypnos, what do I think of the tendencies in the game this year? I'm working on a list slowly but surely of tendencies that are incorrect. There's a lot of players, especially role players, very minor players, that have like 99 touch tendency or a shot tendency very high, and it affects gameplay. Same goes for some star players are rated really high with their shot tendencies and their touch tendencies, and then the role players are rated very low. So that leads to a lot of overinflation of points when you simulate, like Luka Doncic averaging 41 points a game, because the other tendencies are lower for others on the roster, and that's the reason. But hopefully we'll see that corrected in a ratings update to come. I believe next Thursday will be the first ratings update. So hopeful that goes in and we see some differences there. I want to go to the Hawks real quick. They've got steady production this year out of DeAndre Hunter. If he can stay healthy, 17 points is about where I see his value. That's what he scored last night. John Collins chipped in 19 points to go with 11 rebounds. Clint Capella, 6 points, 10 rebounds. Eventually, I could see Capella as a trade candidate because Onyeka Okongwu had 10 points off the bench. Only 3 rebounds, but I think those rebounding numbers go up once he gets more time. They need Bogdanovich back for his scoring off the bench. Trae Young still struggling to shoot the ball this season. Hasn't shot it well at all, but his passing is still there. He did have 35 points, but he drew 17 foul attempts, so that's where a lot of his numbers came from. DeJounte Murray struggled shooting in this one. They just so happen to play a Pistons team that's just not experienced enough to beat them. So the Hawks lucked out winning that game. The Knicks beat the Charlotte Hornets in overtime, 134-131. I was interested in this game because uh, with the injuries to the Hornets, with LaMelo and Rozier being out, that gives Dennis Smith Jr. more of a window to do a lot of the ball handling. He did have 11 assists to go with 14 points. Excuse me. Kelly Oubre, 17 points, 5 rebounds. PJ Washington's been really good this year, 17 and 5 for him. Gordon Hayward's been the glue that's kept this team together. Hopefully he can stay healthy. 21-9 and 4 for him. But Nick Richards, has been phenomenal. He didn't do as much in this one, but he's been phenomenal off the bench. Richards would go up. Dennis Smith Jr. should go up. Washington, Oubre, Hayward all should go up. Plumlee needs to go. Maybe he could stay the same, but Cody Martin should go down in rating. Mark Williams down in rating. He hasn't played much. James Bouknight, second game he shot the ball decent. 13 points off the bench after struggling 0 for 10 to start the year. I like the Hornets team. I thought they were going to be trash this year, but they've surprised under Steve Clifford. Steve Clifford likely needs like a all-time contract for this team because it seems like anytime he coaches them, he gets them motivated. So R.J. Barrett, second game with good points for him, 22 and points, 8 rebounds. Didn't shoot it the greatest again. 0 for 5 from 3. Julius Randle, another solid game from him, 17 and 6. Didn't shoot it well at all either. Jalen Brunson went off in this one, 27 and 13, 10 of 15 shooting. I really like Jalen Brunson as a lead guard. Evan Fournier, 14 points. And then their bench, they get Derrick Rose with 12 and Emmanuel Quickley with 11. Cam Reddish didn't do as much in this one, only 1 for 3 from the floor for 5 points. Got in foul trouble. And then Obi Toppin, 9 points, his usual production. My NBA era tendencies are different. A different person working on those than the current tendencies. Let's just say I know both people that are working on tendencies, and they both do well in their respected areas. The only criticism I have with current tendencies is some of the lower players that get put in, like the two-way guys or deep bench role players, need a revisit and update them accordingly. Otherwise, if you've played the era stuff, those are great tendencies. The person working on those did a very good job. They know who they are. So, great job with those. And I've said that privately and publicly. So, very good effort overall. Man, I'm getting a little worried. My 76ers lose again. They lose to the Toronto Raptors 119-109. Raptors just had more, like across the board. Like Gary Trent Jr. went off for 27 points, 20 and 13 for Pascal Siakam. Scotty Barnes was back, 16 and 10 and 5. 15 points for OG Anunoby, 15 for Fred VanVleet to go with 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 13 for Chris Boucher off the bench. Precious Achiuwa rebounding as usual for him. And then you get to the Sixers and Doc Rivers, no adjustments to the bench really whatsoever. Montrezl Harrell plays again, no shots, gets 2 foul shots, misses both. He needs to go down in rating. D'Anthony Melton's the only saving grace off the bench, 12 points. Georges Niang, struggled again. Daniel House struggles. This bench is just a mess. Hugo, nothing new other than injuries in this update for the current teams, and those were minor at best. I'll go over those at the end. James Harden didn't shoot it the greatest in this one, but still had 18 points, 7 and 9. 31 for Maxey. It seems like whenever Maxey is doing well, Harden struggles. Or when Harden does well, Maxey struggles. Embiid had 31. Tobias Harris struggled 1 for 5 from the floor, 3 points to go with 8 rebounds, 6 assists. So he helped out elsewhere, just didn't shoot it the greatest. They've got to get PJ Tucker out of the starting lineup. I think you need to bench him at this point. 3 for 10, 8 points, like 4 rebounds. The defense hasn't been consistent either. So I don't know. I'm really worried about this Sixers team. Another team I'm worried about, the Brooklyn Nets. So obviously, I think everybody's seen it by now, the viral video of Kyrie Irving pleading with Ben Simmons to shoot the ball when he was in the lane. Simmons is just mentally out of it. Like, I don't know if it's, he's scared of injury or just like what it is. But he didn't do himself any favors with the cocky attitude on the JJ Redick podcast. I just didn't like what I saw from him there. He did have 9 assists, but only 4 points to go with 5 rebounds. He should easily be getting 15 points, 8 rebounds, 8 to 10 assists a game. Like, there's no reason with his size he shouldn't be getting that. Kyrie Irving didn't shoot it the greatest, 9 for 21, 0 for 7 from 3. 9 rebounds from him to go with 27 points. It's all ISO all the time for this Nets team. To be honest, by January, if the Nets are hovering around 500, they will fire Steve Nash. Like, I don't have any doubt about that. Kevin Durant, ISO stuff again. 33 points. Like, Kyrie and Durant get their points, but nobody else does much on this team other than that. And so the Brooklyn Nets are definitely disappointing. Yes, they went against a Bucks team with Giannis, but this Bucks team, you got 43 out of Giannis with 14 rebounds, 20 out of Bobby Portis, 15 out of Drew Holiday. But there's no Chris Middleton there on the team. Like, Brooklyn should take advantage of that, but Brooklyn just doesn't have the pieces, I think, collectively. You could say all you want about Seth Curry coming back and does he change things and all that stuff. He ain't going to change things that much. Like, Brooklyn's in trouble at this point, in my opinion. But 110-99, the Bucks beat Brooklyn. I just don't like they're getting nothing out of Joe Harris coming off the bench. Like, I just don't like the makeup of this team. Ben Simmons looks like he doesn't want to be out there. It's tough. Bulls win again, 124-109 over the Indiana Pacers. Levine and DeRozan, of course, are the stars of the Bulls, but Levine took the front for this one. 28 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. DeRozan 17 and 6, and they actually got a decent game out of Patrick Williams in 15 minutes. He scored 10 points. It's interesting with Patrick Williams because what he does, like a lot of like minor things that don't show up, but he just doesn't fit as a fifth option on this team. It's just interesting to see now with Ayoud Sunmu starting. He had 7 assists, 12 points, but he's the fourth option essentially on this team. Vooch had 14 and 7 to go with 4 assists. Off the bench, Goran Dragic has been great since the start of the season. He definitely needs to go up in the next roster update, or ratings update, I should say. Kobe White struggled as normal. They should actually reverse. Kobe White should be the 74, Dragic the 76, and move forward. But Indiana Pacers, they get 15 out of Ben Mathurin. Mathurin's been great so far. Struggled shooting in the past 2 games, but he's been good as far as getting points and things like that. Chris Duarte struggled all year. He finally hit double figures with 12 off the bench. And then the return of Miles Turner, 25 minutes, didn't shoot it well. Only 5 points to go with 6 rebounds, but 4 blocks, and that's where he can make the difference. Jalen Smith, 15 points, able to stretch the floor, 9 rebounds. Aaron Nesmith even got the start. He had 9 points as well. But Tyrese Halliburton and Buddy Hield for the backcourt, 17 and 11 for Halliburton, 25 points for Buddy Hield. He's been really rolling so far this year. San Antonio Spurs and the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Timberwolves um, take this one 134-122. Anthony Edwards, 34 points. Efficient shooting. D'Angelo Russell, 12 points. 23 points from Jalen Noel. He's definitely going up in the next update for sure. Karl Anthony Towns, 21 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. He's got to be better rebounding the ball. Jaden McDaniels chips in 20 points as well. Rudy Gobert with 9 and 9. They're still trying to figure this offense out and how they're going to work together as a collective unit. We'll see, I guess. Spurs, Keldon Johnson, 27 points. He led the way there. Doug McDermott, 19 points off the bench. He's been really good this year. He's going to go up in the next ratings update, I hope. Keita Bates-Diop really scored 15 points in 15 minutes, 6 for 9 from the floor. Guys like Trey Jones who don't shoot it well but are able to pass and rebound. I think Trey Jones should still go up. Guys like Isaiah Roby, who doesn't score as efficiently or defensively is like a juggernaut, should go down in rating. Josh Richardson got the start in this one at the 2, 11 points, 10 assists for him. Devin Vassell sat this one out, so that's why Richardson got the start at the 2 guard. Jeremy Sohan he put in 12 points, just kind of all over the place out there. And then finally, Jakob Poeltl's another one that I think should go up. Always consistent. He had 12, 10, and 4 in the loss against the Timberwolves. The game that I was able to catch a good bit of, the Houston Rockets took on the Utah Jazz. The Jazz win 109-101. It was close towards the end. It was like a 2-point game with maybe like 3 minutes left. The Rockets got a good effort out of Kevin Porter Jr. again, 24 points to go with 5 rebounds, 5 assists. Kenny Martin Jr., 11 points, 10 rebounds off the bench. Jalen Green, 17 points, didn't shoot it well. Jabari Smith didn't shoot it well, 10 points, 9 rebounds. And Eric Gordon chipped in 16 points as well. No Alperen Sengun again. He's got a non-COVID illness. Tari Eason struggled shooting the ball in this one, so no constant effort as he had been putting in before, just to help them off the bench. But the Utah Jazz, they get a win with Lauri Markkanen, 24 points, 9 rebounds, 3 assists, 20 points from Jordan Clarkson, and then Malik Beasley with 14 off the bench, Mike Conley with 13. A lot of the team kind of struggled. Talen Horton-Tucker pitched in 14 as well to go with 7 rebounds. So they're just getting kind of performance out of wherever they can get it at this point. They're the shocker team. Nobody had them winning, especially early on in the season. So the Miami Heat and Portland Trailblazers. So what's notable in this one is Damian Lillard went down early with an injury. We'll see kind of what happens with the right calf strain. I think he's only going to miss like a game or two. Doesn't look like it's anything majorly serious for them. But the Blazers have just been rolling, to say the least. They lose this one though because Lillard was out. They lose to Miami 119-98. But they had been rolling. I think Jeremy Grant is an underrated addition this year. He didn't shoot it well. He only had 11 points, but he had been doing really well. Lillard, like I said, with 22, 14 for Anthony Simons, 15 for Shaedon Sharpe, who has been fantastic as a rookie. They just didn't have enough going against the Miami team. Miami really kind of flourished in this game. Jimmy Butler 17, Caleb Martin 16, Adebayo 18 and 8, 14 from Tyler Hero. He struggled in this one, but Lowry had 17 and 6 with Max Strus, another consistent effort off the bench, 16 points to go with 9 rebounds. Hopefully, Miami can get Oladipo healthy moving forward. That's another scoring punch off the bench. Last game of the night, and I saved this one for last because it's just as disappointing as every other game. The Los Angeles Lakers were without Russell Westbrook due to a hamstring injury. They started Patrick Beverley at point guard, Austin Reeves at the 2. Uh, Basically got a combined 14 points out of them. Wasn't much of an effort. The 3 consistents as it's been all season. LeBron, 19 points, 7 rebounds, 9 assists. Lonnie Walker, 15 points on 6 of 14 shooting, but only 1 for 6 from 3. And then 22 points, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, and 2 blocks for Anthony Davis, who has just been the crutch for this team, holding them up as much as he can. But there was a moment in the game where he bent over in his back. He looked like he kind of tweaked it, but he kept going. So that's a good sign there. Speaking of backs, Michael Porter Jr. is down with a lumbar management. Obviously, everybody knows he had multiple surgeries on that back, so they're just wanting to take good care of that. With the Nuggets, the thing about them is they can plug and replace. Bruce Brown starts in place of Michael Porter Jr., gets 18 points to go with 5 rebounds. Aaron Gordon didn't score well, only 6 points, but had 9 rebounds, 5 assists. 31 and 13 to go with 9 assists for Nikola Jokic. I almost said Jovic. Kentavious Caldwell Pope, 13 quick points, 3 for 5 from 3. Jamal Murray still struggling shooting the ball, 1 for 7 from 3, but he looked better passing the ball and getting guys in their spots on this one. Christian Brown, it's not Braun, it's Brown. He said it yesterday, it's Brown. Ended up with 9 quick points off the bench in 25 minutes. Bones Highland didn't shoot it well, only 2 for 12 from the floor for 6 points. Jeff Green, 10 points off the bench, and that's pretty much it for this Nuggets team. They'll be decent if they can get Jamal Murray back up to speed. They'll be, I wouldn't say unbeatable, but they'll be harder to beat moving forward. So we'll see kind of what happens. So now we go into that wraps up the nightly recap. Now we go into Thursday's games, which is tonight. Dallas and Brooklyn. Everybody's going to want to watch Luka take on Kyrie and KD and Ben Simmons. The Clippers go against OKC again. We'll see if Kawhi is on load management, and then what about Paul George? Miami Golden State. Miami on a back-to-back might be tough for them against a Golden State team that likes to shoot a lot of threes, obviously. And then last game of the night, Memphis against Sacramento. Memphis has all their guys except Zaire Williams, who's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks more, basically. But we'll see what happens. Sacramento could surprise. Keegan Murray is now in the starting lineup, so that'll be interesting there. But I'll be interested to see what the storyline moving forward with the Lakers, though, is with Westbrook. If a trade finally gets pulled off, or they just tell him to sit at home until we find one, whatever's going to happen. But the Lakers have a long road ahead. Pelicans, Nuggets, are just some of the teams that Timberwolves that they get in upcoming games. So it might be a very, very, very rough start for them moving forward. But if you enjoyed this content, please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed. Please, if you can, tell a couple friends about these videos. It's NBA 2K related as well as NBA action related. So I try to cover both things. But Hope you enjoyed the video. If we get any retro content updates or anything of note tomorrow, then I will be back on for another video. Otherwise, it'll just be the around the NBA, just a quick one tomorrow morning, as time permits. But like I said, please hit that like button if you've liked the content so far. Hope everybody enjoys the rest of their day, and I will talk to you next time.